You are listening to Change Radio News. Today is Friday, the 16th of February, 2024. The news read by Olive Ruzizo. Stories making headlines. Advocate Chamisa says political and economic reforms needed to solve the economic crisis. Malema says SA soldiers must leave DRC after 2 die in an explosion. And relief as villagers are set free and evictions halted in Masvingo. And now the stories in detail. Former CCC leader Advocate Nelson Chamisa said the current economic crisis in Zimbabwe can only be solved by political and economic reforms rather than the government stating that it will soon have a currency board and a structured currency. Writing on social media, Advocate Chamisa said the currency crisis stems from a lack of confidence, making traditional solutions ineffective. He added that past attempts failed due to a lack of accountability and transparency. He continued by saying the country needs genuine political and economic reforms, prioritizing accountability, transparency, and the rule of law. Meanwhile, Advocate Chamisa has been holding meetings with various diplomats, including the United Kingdom Ambassador Peter Vowles last week, and yesterday with Canada's Ambassador Adler Aristide. Ambassador Aristide said the meeting was an ongoing engagement with political and civic societies in Zimbabwe. Economic Freedom Fighters EFF leader Julius Malema has laid blame squarely on South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa for sending ill-equipped and untrained soldiers to the DRC to fight the M23 rebels who are carrying out mass murders in that country. Malema's comments follow the death of 2 soldiers and the injury of 3 on Wednesday after a motor bomb exploded in their camp in the eastern part of the DRC. Speaking at a press conference yesterday, Malema said the soldiers must return home immediately. This is what he said.
Cyril Ramaphosa wants to kill our children in DRC. Those rebels, DRC, they are well equipped. Who goes to a base of an army if you know that thing is an army and is powerful? There's no army. So they are sent there to be killed because they are not properly trained. They must come back home, and we must stop with any military deployment until we are fit and proper. Just take a walk and look at a South African soldier walking. You see a demoralized man who's carrying a rifle, and you see that rifle is heavy on him. He's not even fit to carry that rifle.
Yesterday, 16 villagers from the Manyama resettlement area achieved a major victory after a judge from the Masvingo High Court intervened, preventing their eviction and overturning their convictions. Despite initially facing charges for illegal occupation of the land, some of the villagers who have lived there for 40 years were released thanks to the advocacy of the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, ZLHR. The legal team successfully argued that the villagers have been unjustly convicted for settling on the land. Our Change Radio news reporter Wejira Munya gives us the full details.
Yesterday, on the 15th of February 2024, the resettled villagers in Manyama recent area celebrated a significant victory when a judge from the Masvingo High Court intervened to halt their eviction and arrest. The Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights, represented by Attorney Philip Tanaka Shumba of Mutendi, Mudisi, and Shumba legal practitioners, filed an appeal on behalf of the 16 convicted settlers, including Gertrude Hove, arguing that their clients had been wrongfully convicted for settling on the illegal land. The judgment was met with a great jubilation at the Masvingo High Court. Expressing her gratitude, one of the evicted farmers who spoke on condition of anonymity stated that, "I am thankful to the Masvingo High Court judge for granting us a favorable judgment and preventing our eviction from the land we have called our home over 20 years. Another female resettled farmer criticized Masvingo West ZANU-PF member of parliament and Masvingo resident minister Ezra Chadzamira for his insensitive toward the plight of the resettled villagers, for he is the one who is leading the operation No to Land Barons. Majority of the resettled farmers who have been evicted from the land they have been staying for over 20 years, you have nowhere to go. Majority of them have destroyed their nice building, sold their livestock at very low prices, and their children are no longer going to school after they have been evicted. A top human rights lawyer, Advocate Martin Moreri, condemned the removal of these villagers without nowhere to go. There is an outcry here in Masvingo after thousands of villagers have been evicted from their land. Some have been staying there for over 40 years. Yesterday's judgment has caused a lot of celebration across Zimbabwe as the resettled farmers are fighting the battle to stay at their land. Advocate Nelson Chamisa is on record stating that all resettled farmers must have title deeds to the land. Title deeds will give them right to have ownership of the land of their forefathers. Advocate Nelson Chamisa granted the citizens of Zimbabwe that immediately after he's been voted into power, you will make sure that all citizens will get title deeds to have a total ownership of their land. Reporting for Change Radio here in Masvingo, Wejira Munya.
Yesterday, Gutu Magistrate Michelle Panavanu sentenced 5 CCC members from Gutu West to 9 months in prison for allegedly assaulting ZANU-PF members at Chiriga Business Center on the 8th of November 2023. The 5 are Tapiwa Chiro, Brian Sitole, Privilege Goremshandu, Patrick Chimbare, and Takudzwa Sidin Mashiri. Our Change Radio news reporter Wejira Munya gives us more details.
Yesterday, the 15th of February 2024, the Gutu Magistrate Michelle Panavanu has handed down a harsh sentence to 5 supporters of the Gutu West Citizen Coalition for Change Party, sending them to 9 months in prison without the option of fine. The 5 CC members who were caged are Mr. Tapiwa Chiro of Ward 8 Gutu West, Brian Story, Privilege Goremushandu, the only female prisoner, Patrick Chimbare, and Takudzwa Sidney Mashiri, all from Ward 32 Gutu West. Mr. Zivanai Zava, who was the CCC Council aspiring candidate for Ward 32 in Gutu West in the 2023 harmonized elections, expressed his dismay at the severity of the sentence. There are serious allegations that ZANU-PF is manipulating the courts to settle political scores with opposition members who supported President Nelson Chamisa. The prominent human rights lawyer based in Masvingo, Advocate Martin Mureri, who is also Masvingo Ebony Member of Parliament, advised the 5 CCC members to appeal against the sentence to the Masvingo High Court. He believed that they have a good chance of having the judgment overturned. The allegations against the 5 individuals stem from an incident on the 8th of November 2023 while they were guarding the venue where President Nelson Chamisa was supposed to address the by-election rally where CCC candidate Mr. Ephraim Morudu was going to square off with the ZANU-PF aspiring member of parliament Johnny Paradza, among other candidates in a Go-To West. However, President Nelson Chamisa failed to address this rally due to the violence that erupted at the venue. This led Honorable Amos Chibaya to speak at this rally, and also Citizen Coalition for Change Women Assembly Task Force leader Monica Mukwada also spoke at this rally. What surprises most is that ZANU-PF perpetrators of violence are yet to be arrested. Interestingly, these 5 CCC members who have been caged into prison were the victims of political violence. The political analyst here in Masvingo said, the law has been not applied fairly, as the victims are going to spend 9 months in prison. This is one of the harshest prison sentences that we have ever witnessed here in Masvingo. Reporting for Change Radio, Wejira Munya.
Member of Parliament for Budiriro South, Honourable Darlington Chigumbu, said a commission of inquiry must be set up to investigate what really happened when ZEC delayed voting in some constituencies during the elections held last year in 2023. He made these comments during the debate on ZEC elections report in Parliament. Honourable Chigumbu said ZEC must compensate candidates who had to use extra funds after ZEC delayed voter casting for a day in some constituencies in Harare, Bulawayo, and Mutare in the August sham elections. Prominent activist and opposition leader Alexei Navalny has died. He died this morning in a prison in the Arctic Circle in Russia. The Russian prison service said the 47-year-old died shortly after saying he was feeling unwell after he had taken a walk. Navalny was serving a 19-year jail term for what the international community says are spruced up allegations so that the Russian president can continue his despotic rule unhindered. A judge at the Masvingo High Court has ruled that Mr. Ishmael Zireva, a former CCC council candidate in Ward 28, Chivi South, who participated in the August 2023 elections, must pay a fine of $30 after he was found guilty of assaulting a member of the Forever Associates of Zimbabwe, FAZ, in Chivi in April last year. Let's get more details from our Change Radio news reporter, Wejira Munya.
Yesterday, A judge at the Masvingo High Court has ruled that Mr. Ishmael Zireva, a former Citizen Coalition for Change council candidate in Ward 28 during the 23rd August 2023 harmonized elections in Chivi South, must pay a fine of 30 United States dollars for assaulting and poking a ZANU-PF member who is also a member of Notorious Forever Associates of Zimbabwe in Chivi. Mr. Zireva now lost the election to the ZANU-PF candidate. The fine must be paid by February 23rd, 2024, and failure to do so will result in Mr. Zireva going to prison. Mr. Zireva was represented by top human rights lawyer advocate Martin Mureri in this case. The circumstances of his arrest was that Mr. Zireva assaulted a FAS member, but he denied the allegations, and the lower court, the Magistrate Court in Chivi, sentenced him to 4 months in prison. And Mr. Zireva served 1 week in prison before his bail was approved by Masvingo High Court judge. Mr. Zireva yesterday at Masvingo High Court celebrated his liberty and saying he still maintained that he did not beat ZANU-PF and Forever Associate member. The Forever Associate of Zimbabwe, known as FAS, was responsible for rigging elections during 23rd August harmonized elections. Reporting for Change Radio in Masvingo, Wejira Munya.
Popular gospel musicians Charles and Olivia Charamba have confirmed that they requested that YouTube take down 2 songs by Zim dancehall singer Jah Signal, which they say broke copyright infringement laws. In a statement released today, Charles Charamba said lyrics from his song Kanavanu Vangu and his wife's song Tengai Mafuta were used by Jah Signal without their authority. Jah Signal used Mr. Charamba's lyrics on his song Shinga Murora, and using the lyrics and the same title of Tengai Mafuta belonged to Mrs. Charamba. As the cholera outbreak continues to spread amongst citizens in Zimbabwe, Change Radio urges citizens to wash their hands frequently with soap and running water, avoid eating raw or half-cooked meat, refrain from buying fruits and vegetables from street vendors, boil water before drinking, and maintain all-round good hygiene. And finally, in sports news, here are the latest football results from the Europa League. Feyenoord 1, Roma 1. Galatasaray 3, Sparta Prague 2. Young Boys 1, Sporting Lisbon 3, AC Milan 3, Rennes 0, Benfica 2, Toulouse 1, and Lens 0, and Freiburg 0. To conclude the bulletin, here are the headlines once again. Advocate Chamisa says political and economic reforms needed to solve the economic crisis. Malema says SA soldiers must leave DRC after 2 die in an explosion, and relief as villagers are set free and evictions halted in Masvingo.